Hello there, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita Wu. News making the headlines. Government open to suggestion to reintroduce goods and services tax. And police on hunt for 21 lawyers over alleged criminal breach of trust and cheating. We begin with our headlining story. The government has no problem bringing back the Goods and Services Tax, GST, it abolished last year. This, according to Prime Minister Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad, after a think tank said the consumer tax could be reintroduced at a lower rate to help boost government coffers.
Kalau itu yang kehendak rakyat, kita akan kaji sama ada lebih baik daripada SST atau.
So what kalau nak masuk ke bajet tu?
Bajet susah sikit lah.
Maybe later on lah.
Maybe later on.
He said this to the media after launching the Security and Public Order, DKKA, a new document to chart the Home Ministry's policies. The Malaysian Institute of Economic Research, MIER, on Wednesday said Putrajaya could reintroduce GST in the 2020 budget at a lower rate of 3%. The GST, introduced in April 2015 at 6%, was replaced with the Sales and Services Tax, SST, on September 1st, 2018. Speaking at the launch of the new security policy, Tun Dr Mahathir said the policy will complement the National Security Policy, DKN, an umbrella policy for various aspects of national security. He said the DKKA comes at a time when Malaysia is facing complex security threats, which are difficult to handle through conventional methods.
Pendekatan ini termasuklah pembangunan sumber manusia yang lebih kompeten bagi menghadapi cabaran yang lebih kompleks ini. Selain itu, penggunaan artificial intelligence ataupun AI, penggunaan drone, otomasi berasaskan robotik, cloud computing dan Internet of Things yang berupaya mengurangkan kos dan sumber manusia di samping meningkatkan kecekapan dalam menangani cabaran dan isu-isu keselamatan. Strategi ini juga adalah selaras dengan dasar pendigitalan kerajaan.
The DKKA outlined 6 core areas and 21 strategies as guide and reference in facing various security and public order issues now. Among them are the defence and uphold of the Constitution and key national institutions, improving governance and integrity, strengthening security control at the country's border, as well as combating the drug menace. The Malaysia Competition Commission, MyCC, has proposed to slap 86.7 million ringgit fine on Grab Inc. for collectively breaching the Competition Act 2010. The anti-competition statutory body also proposed a daily penalty of 15,000 ringgit against the e-hailing firm beginning Thursday, after it was found that Grab abused its dominant position by imposing some restrictive clauses on its drivers.
MyCC dalam keputusan cadangannya mendapati Grab telah menyalahgunakan kedudukan dominannya melalui pengenaan beberapa klausa yang membataskan pemandu-pemandunya daripada mempromosikan dan menyediakan perkhidmatan pengiklanan kepada pesaing-pesaing Grab dalam perkhidmatan e-hailing dan pasaran pengiklanan media transit.
Iskandar said the restrictive clauses had the effect of distorting competition in the relevant market that is premised on multi-sided platforms by creating barriers to entry and expansion for Grab's existing and future competitors. Under Section 10 of the Competition Act, an enterprise is prohibited from engaging, whether independently or collectively, in any conduct which amounts to an abuse of a dominant position in any market for goods or services. Grab has 30 days to make a representation to the Commission. Meanwhile, Grab has denied allegations of abusive practices towards its drivers or competitors. According to its spokesperson, they have complied fully with the Competition Act and were surprised by the proposed decision by MyCC. Their legal counsels are now studying the proposed fine. They also believed it is common practice for businesses to decide upon the availability and type of third-party advertising on their respective platforms, tailored according to consumers' needs and feedback. Grab will be submitting its written representations to MyCC by November 27th. Police have released the names of 21 lawyers who are wanted for 39 alleged criminal breach of trust and cheating cases involving over 30 million ringgit between 2012 and 2019. Bukit Aman Commercial Crime Investigation Department Director Datuk Sri Muhammad Zakaria Ahmad said police have been trying to trace those in the country based on their last known addresses but have not been successful so far.
Ya, kita masih ada 21 peguam. Yang mana peguam-peguam ini daripada siasatan kita 8 perlu ditangkap untuk dituduh di mahkamah kerana kertas siasatannya telah lengkap, waran tangkap telah diperolehi, manakala 13 lagi diperlukan untuk kita membantu siasatan dan sebelum kita mengemukakan kertas siasatan kepada pihak Timbalan Pendakwa Raya untuk diambil tindakan yang sewajarnya sama ada pertuduhan dan lain-lain.
Cross-checks with the Immigration Department revealed 5 were residing overseas, while 16 are still in the country. These lawyers, aged between 36 and 69, were found to have abused their client money for personal use or failed to pay dames to victims who had trusted them. Datuk Sri Zakaria said police were also tracking down 117 individuals who are believed to be involved in loan shark activities. Of that, 50 are wanted to be charged at court and 63 to assist in police investigation. The Education Ministry is investigating claims that several Form 3 assessment or PT3 examination papers have been leaked. Deputy Education Minister Tioni Ching said the State Education Department will conduct a thorough investigation and the results will be known soon.
Kita akan buat siasatan. Semalam sudah keluarkan satu kenyataan, JPN akan buat siasatan. Ya, tetapi samalah. Maksudnya SOP adalah sama. Jadi kita akan minta JPN untuk buat siasatan.
Teo was speaking to the media when met at the opening ceremony of the new building at Sekolah Jenis Kebangsaan Cina, SJKC Simpang 4 in Kanga. There were allegations that some examination questions or even the full papers were made available in social media before students were due to sit for those papers. In the meantime, the National Union of the Teaching Profession, NUTP, has called for a thorough investigation into the incident, adding that claims of examination paper leaks could trigger a loss of confidence in teachers. The examination syndicate had said that based on the standard operating procedure, the responsibility to download and print the examination paper rests with the principal, senior administration assistant and PT3 secretary in the respective schools. Malaysia has to reach economic growth of 8% in order to attain the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030. According to the Malaysian Institute of Economic Research, MIER, the gross domestic product or GDP growth rate has to be between 6 and 8% and not between 4 to 5%. According to its chairman, Tan Sri Kamal Saleh, to achieve more than 6%, the government has to do a leapfrog strategy and focus on key sectors. Malaysia, he cautioned, has to be wary of anomalies that are happening outside of the country and not be complacent the moment oil prices go up, as it generates momentary boost of income. Instead, the country needs to divert its resources and invest in the structural change of long to medium-term growth. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said there is no doubt that 5G will be a key driver to connecting everyone in Malaysia and transform key industries such as manufacturing, agriculture and healthcare so that Malaysia can remain globally competitive. He said collaboration between global players and local vendors was important to support a thriving technology ecosystem in Malaysia. In a statement, the Prime Minister said the impact of advanced technologies on the nation's progress was inevitable and Malaysia could not afford to be left behind especially with Industry 4.0 already ahead. Earlier, he had witnessed Maxis Berhad and Huawei Technologies Malaysia signing an agreement for the provisioning of 5G service network in Malaysia. Signing on behalf of Maxis was its CEO, Gökhan Ogud, while Huawei was represented by its CEO, Michael Yuan. The agreement allows Maxis to have access to insights, standards, products and solutions that will make 5G easier to adopt, operate and introduce new use cases in Malaysia. As part of the agreement, Huawei would be supplying 4G, LTE and 5G radio equipment and services. A show cause letter was issued to UMNO Supreme Council member Datuk Lokman Nur Adam over an alleged threat he made against a witness in the corruption trial of Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak. It was understood that Datuk Lokman had threatened Datuk Seri Najib's former special officer, Datuk Amhari Effendi Nazaruddin, who was the 8th prosecution witness, through a video on September 25th during the ongoing trial. The prosecution in the former Prime Minister's trial involving the misappropriated funds from One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB, sent the letter to Datuk Lokman on Monday, urging him to come up with a reply within 7 days. The letter, signed by Deputy Public Prosecutor Muhammad Mustafa P. Kunyalam, stated that the prosecution would initiate a contempt proceeding against Datuk Lokman if he failed to reply within the set timeline. Mustafa is also part of the prosecution team. In the meantime, it was believed that Datuk Lokman had lodged a police report against Datuk Amhari to investigate the witness for receiving funds from 1MDB-linked fugitive businessman Low Tek Joe or Joe Low. The trial before High Court Judge Colin Lawrence Sekera continues Monday. We're going for a short break, and when we return, over 18 million ringgit worth of illicit cigarettes seized. The details next. Welcome back. Still on Nightline. The families of the 3 fishermen who were abducted in the waters off the east coast of Sabah on September 23rd have received calls from the kidnappers demanding for ransom. Sabah Police Commissioner Datuk Omar Mama said the calls were made several days after the 3 Indonesian fishermen were kidnapped at Tambisan waters off Lahad Datu. However, no amount of ransom was mentioned by the kidnappers. On September 23rd, 3 fishermen, Maharuddin Lunani, 48, his son Muhammad Farhan, 27, and nephew Samyun Maniu, 27, were abducted by 7 armed men on 2 pump boats. All victims were brought to Tawi-Tawi Island off the southern Philippines. In Selangor, the Customs Department has seized more than 18.13 million ringgit worth of illicit cigarettes during 2 week-long operations. Its Director General, Datuk Sri Padi Abdul Halim, said the operations were launched on September 22nd to weed out syndicates distributing illicit cigarettes with fake tax stamps.
Rokok-rokok yang berstem palsu ini dan juga rokok seludup dipercayai dijual dalam harga lebih kurang RM5 pun ada. Jadi orang ramai kalau kalau membeli atau daripada penjual yang harganya kurang daripada RM10 dengan stem, makna besar kemungkinan ialah stem palsu.
The suspects were picked up following a series of raids in the Klang Valley area. During the operation, 22 million illicit cigarettes and 26,200 kretek cigarettes with fake tax stamps were seized, along with 15 vehicles belonging to the syndicates. 86 bank accounts involving about 16 million ringgit were also frozen, in line with provisions under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 200. The department is now investigating how the syndicates got their hands on the fake tax stamps. Over in Pahang, a couple was killed while their 3 children were injured in a road accident involving a car and a lorry at Jalan Kuantan Seremban in Rompin, Pahang, early Thursday morning. In the 4:50 a.m. crash, 31-year-old Muhammad Nur Izam Ramli died at the scene, while his wife Surawati Muhammad, aged 33, was pronounced dead at the Muazzam Shah Hospital at 8 a.m. Their children, Arish Razin, Aryan Rizki and Arfan Rakin, suffered minor injuries and are being treated at the same hospital. The 43-year-old lorry driver also walked away with minor injuries. Based on initial investigations, the Perodua Myvi the family was travelling in was believed to have skidded onto the opposite lane and crashed into the lorry. The cause of the crash is being investigated under the Road Transport Act. 6 men in Sabah suspected of killing a pygmy elephant in Sungai Udin Dumpas in Kalabakan have been remanded for 4 days beginning Thursday. The suspects, including an illegal immigrant, all aged between 48 and 68, were issued the remand order at the Tawau Magistrates Court to facilitate investigations under the Firearms Act. In the arrest Wednesday, police also seized 56 live bullets, bullet shells and 3 firearms believed to have been used in the heinous act. An autopsy revealed the animal received 70 gunshot wounds on the body with a bullet piercing its head. In Malacca, a father of 3 has pleaded guilty at the Alor Gajah Sessions Court for allegedly injuring his 10-year-old daughter by using a belt last month. The 42-year-old made the plea after the charge was read before Judge Ahmad Sazali. The court, however, has set November 5th to deliver the verdict, pending medical reports of the extent of the victim's injuries. According to the charge sheet, the accused had deliberately hit the child with a belt, causing injuries on her left eyebrow. The accused, a farmhand, was charged under Section 324 of the Penal Code for voluntarily causing hurt by dangerous weapons or means, together with Section 326 of the same code, which carries a jail term of up to 20 years, whipping, or both upon conviction. Next on Nightline, at least 9 dead after Typhoon Mitag batters South Korea. Do stay tuned. Welcome back onto the foreign front. The United Kingdom has received a cool reception from Brussels after proposing to create an all-island regulatory zone for Ireland to cover all goods in a bid to break the Brexit deadlock in advance of the October 31st deadline. In a plan published on Wednesday outlining how to deal with the Irish border after Britain leaves the European Union, the British government said a revised Brexit agreement should commit to avoiding customs checks, regulatory checks or related physical infrastructure at the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. Northern Ireland would stay part of the UK's customs territory, but to avoid customs checks, a declaration system would be introduced with a simplified process for small traders, along with a trusted traders scheme. Paperwork would be completed online, but a very small number of physical checks would still be needed. The plan is the UK's attempt to dispose of the so-called backstop, a clause that was part of Johnson's predecessor's Brexit deal negotiated with Brussels, but rejected 3 times by the British Parliament. The European Commission chief, Jean-Claude Juncker, later welcomed the proposal, saying it included positive advances. However, there were problematic points that needed negotiations. At least 9 people were killed on Thursday and several others missing after Typhoon Mitag lashed South Korea with heavy rain and strong winds. According to authorities, Mitag, the 18th typhoon this year, hit southern parts of the country on Wednesday night, prompting flood warnings and triggering landslides in affected areas. Some of the dead were killed underneath collapsed structures, while others drowned. Officials said more than 100 houses and other private structures were flooded, with more than 1,500 evacuating their homes in advance in the southeast regions. In the southern port city of Busan, one of the hardest hit areas, around 600 rescue workers are trying to locate 4 people believed to be trapped beneath a landslide. The death toll, meanwhile, is expected to rise as rescuers search for those still missing. In France, 4 police officers have died in a knife attack at Paris police headquarters by a man who was then shot dead. According to authorities, the assailant was an administrative intelligence employee at police headquarters who was deaf and dumb. The incident occurred when the assailant went on the rampage with a ceramic knife, stabbing several colleagues in his office and the surrounding area before being shot dead by an officer. Police sources said the assailant was in conflict with his superiors and that the murders were not being treated as a terror incident. The attack came a day after almost 30,000 police staged a march in anger in Paris over working conditions, low morale and a spike in police suicides. Rugby World Cup, Ireland rebounds in style. Stay tuned. We're back with sports news now. Rugby, the 2019 World Cup. Ireland rebounded from their loss to Japan by making 11 changes and defeating Russia 35-0 in their Pool A clash on Thursday. Ireland opened the tally after just 2 minutes through Rob Kearney's try, the fastest ever Rugby World Cup try. 2 more tries from Peter O'Mahony and Rhys Ruddock in the 13th and 35th minute respectively, and conversions from Johnny Sexton then put Ireland in the driving seat as they cruised to a 21-0 lead going into the break. Ireland resumed their domination in the second half when Andrew Conway grabbed a try in the 62nd minute to make it 26-0, before Gary Ringrose recorded another try in the 76th minute, sealing a 35-0 win. The victory ensured Ireland remained on course for a place in the quarter-finals. This was Ireland's 38th Rugby World Cup game and the only time they have prevented the opposition from scoring, while this was the first time Russia had failed to score in the history of the tournament. Looks like we've reached the end of Nightline, but before we leave, let's have a look as Northern Ireland's Chris Meek made his intentions for this weekend's Wales Rally GB clear by posting the fastest time in Thursday morning's shakedown stage in Gwydir. With that, I'm Anita Wu. Thank you for watching and be well.